And one way to facilitate that is through civilian certifications. It just makes it a little easier coming through the door for the civilians who don't really know and haven't been fully acclimated what our guys can do. It at least gives a baseline. So I see some real value in that, especially if we can try to leverage and increase our military civilian partnerships for medical training. So I think there's some value in the DoD trying to give these guys it's not just as a career thing so that when guys get out, but I think there's real value to the DoD in making sure guys get some of these certifications because it enables them to continue their medical training while they're still on active duty.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's a perfect example of it. The National Guard. Okay, so in our unit, you have your Delta. He could be a fireman, he could be a paramedic, or he could be a surgeon. Okay, you just have that kind of breadth of knowledge and experience. Okay, so when guys ask me what's the difference between active duty and the National Guard, that's usually what I bring out. In the National Guard, they're not with each other every day like you are active duty, but the breadth of knowledge that guys can bring to bear into a very small team is, very broad, and it can be very deep. And you use it to, great success. Like if your senior medic is an experienced ER doc, you're sitting pretty good compared to, your partner team, your partner active duty team, where they're 18 Deltas, both experienced, but have nowhere near the depth of knowledge that, this other team can bring to bear. So, I mean, as a strategic or, even a tactical situation, this person has enough knowledge and experience from both the tactical side and the medical side. That team is able to, do more and be in a riskier spots or have more responsibility just because they have this depth of knowledge.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I agree completely. And what I think is going to be interesting to see is DHA kind of trying to streamline things and, in many cases, downsize some of the military treatment facilities to focus in on just caring for soldiers and getting the families and their retirees back out into the civilian system. It limits the training platform that we have in our MTFs. It's going to cut down on the number of actual sick patients that we have in the military treatment facilities, which in turn I think is going to necessitate an increased interaction between our active duty medical personnel of all stripes, not just the special operations medics, with civilian institutions in order to get that experience. So I just think it's going to be interesting to see where military medicine goes in the next 10 years to address this problem of how do we get continuing medical experience.
Right. And I think, COVID-19 is a great example of when people, we needed more providers. We have all these medics, and then everybody recognizes, well, they haven't actually been doing medicine for, months, if not years. Well, how do we get them spun up so that they can go ahead and tackle, COVID-19? If we put this type of effort beforehand, instead of being reactionary, we're, being proactive, and we won't have to jump through our butts anymore, or at least less, when crises happen.
Oh, most definitely. And I mean, I lived that experience. I was spoiled and fortunate enough to get out of the Army right when we stood up a hospital, and it was staffed with 80% special operations veterans, more than any other